Thank you. All right, join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four ways of the things you think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Okay, my inspiration, it's long, guys, so sorry. Warning. This is from an interview from Suleika Jawad, and she is a writer and an author and a speaker. She's also Baptiste's, John Baptiste's wife. But anyway, she was asked in the interview, she was diagnosed with leukemia when she was 22. It recurred 10 years later. And she was asked in the interview, what is your current prognosis and how are you doing? And she will be in treatment indefinitely. But her answer, or her doctor has told her that she should live every day as if it was her last. And so she said, you know, when you're trying to live every day as if it's our last, you're thinking about how you can seize the day. And it puts you in a space of urgency. And I've come to believe that as well intentioned as that advice might be, it's terrible advice. Because if we were all to live every day as if it were our last, we'd be robbing banks and eating ungodly amounts of ice cream. And so instead, as I navigate this new level of uncertainty, I've shifted to a place of trying to live every day as if it's my first. And rather than seeking out these huge, important life moments, I'm seeking out moments of play and tiny little joys. I feel like I'm moving through this uncertainty in a way that doesn't put me in a panic, but places me in a state of wonder and awe and generosity. So the short version is don't live every day like it's your last, live every day like it's your first.
Visiting Rotarians, that baby back there. And I see Rob Rabbits as well. Hey, Ron. How about other guests? I always use the mic because I can't hear. I lose whatever it is on the mic. I want to introduce Kathy Krause, who's my guest today. And Marty Zatola, who's going to introduce our speakers. Our speakers, and we'll introduce her later. Okay, anyone else? Any other guests? Okay, ready for announcements? I just have one. We are going to have the speech contest, the four-way speech contest for the club on April the 11th here. And then 2 weeks later on the 25th, the area-wide contest will be here as well. I needed some volunteers to judge. So for the club, we could have 3 volunteers, and then for the area-wide, depending on how many students from other clubs come, we want to mix it up, get some judges from the other clubs. But for now, I need 3 judges for the 411 contest. There's one. All right, I got 2 and a third, 3. Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, Tom.
Just a quick reminder that we have 1 grant application in already, and would you say the 15th is the deadline? Okay, so the 15th is the deadline. If anybody has an absolutely fabulous, wonderful idea for a good community service grant.
Wow.
Appreciate it. Hey, Rob Rannis from the Wednesday Club, recognize a lot of familiar faces. Get in here and I get Fahey for a second day in a row with a tree. So yeah, I'm here soliciting volunteers for the track meet this year. It's gonna be April 27th. We promised 72 degrees, sunny with light breeze. I know that quite a few people have volunteered in years past. What I've got in my hands, your name may be on it from in past years, that is not a confirmation unless I've already heard from you. But I know we've got quite a few of our regulars in the Wednesday crew that are gonna miss it here to everything from surgery to a 25th wedding anniversary, you name it. So I know we are definitely a bit short, so I'm gonna lean on you guys a little bit more than normal here. Specific areas, I know we're gonna be short of shot puts and pole vault. We've got a couple of our long terms, so if anybody has familiarity with either of those, if not, it's easy, but I will send these around. If you're interested, please sign up. I will try to get you on the events you want if there's room, and then just give me your email after that, and I will put you on the mass spam email list. If you're on the fence, that's okay. I put it on anyway, and you can get emails and feel like you're important. So that's it. Thank you, sir. Oh, yes. So yeah, for those of you who don't know, it's gonna be, we're 30 schools already, probably 700 athletes. I think we had 2,500 in attendance last year, so if you know folks are not a sponsor, great opportunity there. Fingers crossed, it will be a flyover again. We'll work with K Falls. They had a couple of F-16 came over last year, very cool. The biggest track meet continual, I think, less, Mississippi, it's 73 years, so really cool thing. If you just want to watch, that's great too. So I will send them around. Appreciate your help and time. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Just a reminder that we have our social this evening at Taylor's Brewery and Public House on K Street. And there will be food for us there. You'll make the orders and they'll deliver it to us. They even have an outside area for us should we want to. So if anybody wants to do that, bring your umbrella. And when you come in, they're setting up tables as you walk in the front door, it's gonna be to the right, so that's kind of where we'll be. Look forward to seeing you.
Well, in fundraising for Porch Fest, we got $40,000. One thing about the track meet, if you haven't ever gone, you gotta go. 700 kids, parents, spectators, other high school kids. It's a blast.
If you can hear us in Zoom land, we cannot hear you very well.
Fun to be around.
Probably just Zoom people can hear.
Greg Fishwick and I look, the javelin, which is pretty cool. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. Okay, I think we're ready for a program. Always. We got announcements. Okay. I gotta say, I was surprised when Julie told me that Sarah had. What I was even more surprised when she said that. I was pretty surprised when Judy told me that Sarah had. I was even more surprised when I showed up and either one of them gave me something down that I was supposed to stay. So I have to leave this. I thought that limits, which for me is kind of a challenge. Sometimes I can be pretty close. I noticed since the early to middle 90s, and early in my teaching career at Grants Pass, I was the advisor for the school newspaper in the school, and that title was pretty loosely applied in that instance. She was the editor for 2 years, which made my job real easy. And I can see traits from her time as editor that help her as the mayor.
She was very, very good with working with other people. She was very good at leading them, helping them to produce a fine product. She helped to brainstorm ideas for the stories. She delegated responsibility. She held others accountable. And more so, she held herself accountable. She put out a real fine product in that school paper. So real quick, I'd like to conduct a public poll. Even though we know how painful public polling can be. Close your eyes if you would please for just a moment. And make it a secret ballot. How many of you in here would like to be the mayor? How many of you, if the recall, that idiotic recall, had gone through a few months ago, would have wanted to put your name on the ballot to fill that position? Well, I'm guessing then it ain't because of the salary. What do you get, like middle to high 5 figures for that job? Is that what it is? I can't see a whole lot of folks who want to do that job. And it makes me real happy that Sarah's in that position. I was born and raised in Grants Pass. My great-great-grandparents, James and Margaret Savage, settled out along the Rogue River in 1853. And I love this place. I like living here. I like the pace of life. I like the scenery. I'm real happy here. But every once in a while, I have some concerns about what could become of the community. And it makes me real happy that Sara is leading this city.
Looks like they have
I'm not allowed to vote for mayor. I live in the county. But if I could, I would vote for her every time she put her name on the ballot. And I hope that she will continue to run for mayor as long as she can. It is now my pleasure, then. Mayor, to honor the president.
Thanks, Marty. Marty was my favorite teacher in high school, and it's one of the great pleasures of coming back to live in your hometown that you get to see familiar faces and people who you knew and liked before. So you still like him now, so that's great. My name is Sara Bristol. I've been mayor here since January 2021, so just a little bit over 3 years now. This is the 4th year of my term. I'm also a Grants Pass native. I was born here at the old Josephine Memorial Hospital and grew up on Bridge Street. I went to school all the way through, and as Marty said, I served as the school newspaper editor for 2 years. At Grants Pass High School, it was my goal to be a writer and not a public speaker. Didn't work out so well. I was always the kid who was afraid at the front of the class. So now I find myself speaking more and more to newspaper reporters rather than being a newspaper reporter myself, but I did start out that way. And eventually just came to a point, my husband does work for the Daily Courier, and it doesn't make sense for us to both be working in the same company the way that the newspaper industry is going these days. And so I left, and I've been at the college marketing department for the past 6 years, in addition to being mayor here in Grants Pass, which pays absolutely nothing. So every time somebody tells me that they don't like something I'm doing and that that's what they pay me for, you know, it's got a lot of gold. Anyway, I did want to let you guys know a little bit about some of the good things that I think are happening here in Grants Pass, because we don't talk about those things enough. But we do have some fun projects that we're working on here in the city of Grants Pass. I've gotten several questions over the past week. You'll see that the Downtown Welcome Center at 6th and G has a big fence around it. And that is because we are completely renovating that building. It will have public restrooms on the back side near the parking lot. It should be done by September. And in the meantime, the Welcome Center activities are happening across the street. at what you might know as the old J.C. Penney building, or, kind of near the Hive on, G Street now. So, we're looking forward to that. The funding is coming from tourism lodging tax dollars, which is what people pay when they stay in the hotels here in Grants Pass. And we use those funds to pay for, tourism marketing. In addition to, we can use the funds for tourism facilities, and a portion of the funds does go to help pay for public safety as well. But we're limited in what we can spend that money on. And so, you've probably seen, or I hope you have seen, some efforts by the downtown marketing, or it's really the destination marketing organization, Visit Grants Pass. They have a fabulous website and a strong social media presence. It's a newer organization that's just been around a little bit over a year now, but they're also funded through the tourism lodging tax, and they're doing a really great job marketing Grants Pass and telling the world about what a great little town we have to come visit. We are working also on the Owl Lot, which is across the street from the Horny Goat at 5th and H. It's been a parking lot for a number of years, and sometimes it does get used for downtown events. But we're going to be renovating that plaza and making it into an official multi-use space. So they're working in the design right now that will include like rolling the curb so that it creates a more a better transition for walking if they open up that plaza and close down the street, as we do during the Chalk Art Festival. So that's something that's in the engineering phase right now, and looking forward to getting work going on that. I see Valerie in the back of the room, and Valerie Lovelace and I were on the tourism committee together a number of years ago, and it was kind of my first step into politics here in Grants Pass, if you will. But the very first meeting I attended when I was on the tourism committee, I think it was maybe 7 years ago now, we were talking about stringing some Christmas lights or lights anyway, kind of like these, over 5th Street in near that Owl Plaza, and there were some lovely photos that showed us different styles of lights, and we picked out the ones that we thought were the best to recommend to the city council. And here we are 7 years later. We still don't have those lights over 5th Street. I mean, think government moves slow, and it does. But I'm hoping that one of these days soon we will see those lights, and it's going to look really great. We're also working on rebuilding King Man Pool, which was built here in the 1950s. It's our only municipal pool in Grants Pass, a lovely outdoor pool by Grants Pass High School. Our latest estimate came in at about $10.2 million, and we have about $6 million kind of readily available, if you will, for that project. So the council needs to decide pretty soon here about another funding option for how to come up with the rest of the money and possibly scale back the project a little bit. But I would say what we have planned for it is fancier in some ways than the current pool. Kids these days expect a lot of amenities at their swimming pool, and they don't just want a great big rectangle, but they want slides and platforms and lazy rivers and zero depth entry where you can just kind of gradually walk in like when you're at the beach. So we're looking at how to make that happen. So you're probably going to hear some more about that in the coming weeks and months. Housing is, of course, a major priority here in Grants Pass, and we need, according to studies, about 4,000 additional units by 2040. So our building is not keeping pace, particularly on more affordable multi-family housing units. We have a housing advisory committee, and Doug Walker's our chair. Who's a superstar. We've been meeting, the council's been meeting with the Home Builders Association. We have the Housing Advisory Committee. We have a housing specialist that we hired a couple of years ago at the city. We're working on a number of different ways to incentivize higher density housing and ease up some of the regulations that were making it harder to build multifamily units. So slow and steady progress there. We did see the Cathedral Square development that has, I think, 56 units, open up last fall. It's over on, Hard Rock by South Middle School. So that has a number of affordable housing units. And this brings us to some of the tougher issues that we're facing. We're hearing a lot of talk these days about public safety funding, and if you are either a city resident or a business owner, you're gonna see your water bill go up a little bit in June because we raised the utility fee in order to help cover a public safety funding deficit. But the council is still talking about ways to find more money for public safety. Because here in Oregon, we have property tax laws from the 1990s restrict the amount that your assessed value of your properties can increase to 3% per year. So we've seen housing and property rates, property values go up considerably over the last 20 years. But your assessed values are only going up 3% per year, which means for the city that each year we get 3% more than the year we got before. And so every time our expenses go up more than 3%, our gap is growing larger and larger. So every time, employees want to raise that's more than 3%, every time insurance goes up, every time produce goes up, every time a fire engine costs way more than you were anticipating, that's where we're seeing those costs go up. So food and beverage tax, I would say, is still on the table. The council might even just be the next week, that way? It's just next week. Okay, we'll be talking about it again. The council is considering whether or not to put that on the ballot this November. They might not. They're exploring some other options as well, but I think that's something that's gonna continue for a while. Our water treatment plant, which was built in 1931, it's one of the oldest water treatment plants still in operation in the state, is desperately in need of repairs, where it's getting harder and harder and more expensive to fix it up, and it is not seismically stable. So we've been looking at building a new water treatment plant. You have probably all heard some about that, but our last estimate was $124 million. We have a pending grant from FEMA that's, we're hoping to get $50 million from the feds. That's what we asked for. And it's in a situation that right now, as far as I know, we're still waiting on it, but there's reason for hope. But if we don't get that grant for some reason, we'll probably delay the project for several years. So it'd be nice to be able to cross that one off our plate. And then, of course, our homeless situation, and I know you're all a pretty educated group in the room probably, but we do have a lawsuit that the city of Grants Pass lost that has been appealed, and it's going to the U.S. Supreme Court April 22nd. They're going to hear the oral arguments for our case. We're expecting a decision by the end of June. In the meantime here, for the last 4 years since that decision, we've been living under a federal injunction that requires us to allow unhoused people to camp in all of our city parks except for Reinhardt. So for me, this is a very baby part of my life, getting accused of wanting unhoused people to live in our parks. I absolutely do not want people living in our parks. I want people to have a safe place where they can go. And I think that's possible, to have a rule that keeps people out of our parks, but also have places where people can go. And so we've been working on that, and I would say it's been very trying as far as how we're going to go about doing that, how we're going to fund it, what the best way to do that is. Every part of it has been controversial, but one way or another, we are going to get that Supreme Court decision later this summer, and then we'll know what the court is going to either allow us or require us to do, and we can move forward. So I'm very much looking forward to that being over with. You are going to start seeing Grants Pass in the national spotlight quite a bit. I'm getting calls every week from national media. I met with the Washington Post yesterday. So you're gonna see a lot, yeah. So I guess it's a good thing. I'm not afraid of newspaper reporters. They don't bite, but, you're gonna start seeing this, and I guess, it's my hope. This isn't the way a light grants has to be known. But what I try to tell people, I guess, is that we have a lot of people who are working on this issue and pouring their heart and soul and their time and money into finding a solution. So it's not Grants Pass against the homeless. Which I think when you just see the case on paper, it makes us sound heartless, and I don't think that's the way Grants Pass is. So I guess that's the message that I hope will come across, once all this is said and done. And I am happy to take questions, if any of you have anything you want to know about. Yeah,
I'm curious about the pool. I know you said it's a municipal pool, so, but it's on the school property. So why is the school district not picking in their other $4 million, whatever?
yeah. This has a question about the pool and about it being on school property. The pool itself is actually on city-owned property, so it's a city-owned pool. It is adjacent to the high school and really surrounded by School District 7 property, so they own the parking lot. And we own the pool part, but they do use it a little bit. Even dating back to when I was in high school, it's an outdoor seasonal pool. So what happens is the last couple of weeks of spring and the first few weeks of fall, sometimes the PE classes will use the pool. It's real cold. I can tell you, as a teenage girl going swimming first thing at 8 o'clock in the morning, was the horror of my life, ruining my hair first thing in the morning, but you don't want the boys to see in the swimsuit and all that, but yeah, the school does use it a little bit, but not really very much. However, we have been in talks with them about a partnership with the parking lot and expanding the parking lot that would be just north of the pool, and they're willing to cooperate with that. And perhaps pay for part of the parking lot expansion, because that would be good for swimmers as well as people during the school year. But yeah, for the most part, the pool is not open when school is in session. And the cost of doing an indoor pool would be astronomically more, and people like the ambiance of the outdoor pool. Yeah,
I know there are swim meets, my son was on the swim team, and I know there are swim meets that take place there. Is there any way in which Grants Pass could hook into that group of people for fundraising?
yeah, I think that there are people who use the pool who are willing to help with the fundraising. We haven't tapped into that exactly yet, because we've been trying to nail down exactly how much it would cost and how much the city has available, so that we can figure out what the gap would be. But the pool, we are planning to build it in a way that it can still be used for lap swimming and swim meets, while also having some of the more modern amenities. So it'll be multi-use, but I'm not sure if swim meets are even happening there anymore, because we do also have the YMCA where people swim for swim teams. So I think getting the community involved is definitely something I would like to see more of. And I would like to hear more, I guess, about what the community's expectations are, because I think we've been thinking of trying to do it in a most budget friendly way possible, because we don't have a lot of money to spend on the project, but we do want it to be something that people perceive as fun, and that they would want to go to. And I guess my experience with my own kids is more toys and less swimming.
Yeah, one of the problems I think is upcoming to the city is the lack of need for commercial property, retail space in the downtown because of Amazon and internet sales. It seems like it's going to be a looming problem in 20 years or 10 years. The vibrancy of the downtown because of vacancies. Is that, how do you all start to take on something that may be a problem in the future that you see coming not just that one, but other things and then is there some effort going on along those ways to help with that vibrancy thing?
Very good question, and my short answer is probably not enough. But, I would say that long-term planning is not something that we probably have invested enough attention in, recently. You know, I think everybody probably relates to this at either your home or your job, you know, when you start getting pinched for time or money and, you know, you get into that scramble mode, it's a little bit hard to get out of it. And so I guess I would love to see us do more of a look into the future and some long-term visioning. We do have a bit of an opportunity right now with the urban renewal district, which the council set up a number of years ago, maybe 6 or 8 years, I don't know exactly how long. The Urban Renewal Agency is temporarily diverting taxes that within this kind of this business district, so it comes all along 6th and 7th Street and has the downtown core, it comes out to Spalding. It includes a lot of the business districts, so basically the increases in taxes over the past, 5 or 6 years since the urban renewal area was set up are going into a collection pot that we can use for different things. It's limited, but there's a fair amount of flexibility. Some of those funds is what we're planning to use for the pool. Some of the funds are planning to go towards the water treatment plant. You want to look at capital improvement projects with those monies, but I think we have some opportunity there with, with perhaps several million dollars available to invest in strategies to help with our downtown or business district areas. Luckily grants pass because we are kind of in this bowl where we can't grow a whole lot. We're never going to have tons of big box stores. We don't have suburbs that are competing with us for business. So it's not real hard for people to drive over to Medford or Central Point, but we are kind of our own island as far as business goes. And I think that helps us quite a bit. The being on the freeway helps us quite a bit. And I guess hopefully if we can kind of infill and just keep a vibrant scene going, that will feed itself as well. And we are a tourism-based economy, so hopefully we can keep our downtown strong. Yeah.
Well, I have a question about you have a group that is trying to get tourists to come here. Is there part of their assignment to get business to come here?
The downtown, it's really, I don't want to keep on naming say downtown, it's Destination Marketing Organization, Visit Grants Pass. Their role is to bring in visitors from more than 50 miles away. And not businesses per se, but tourists. But the Southern Oregon Economic Development, Ready, their job is to help recruit businesses, and not so much maybe to recruit, but to help place them in an area that meets their needs. We're in a difficult position here because they serve both Jackson and Josephine counties, and our population compared to Jackson County and our buildable land is real different. And I think a lot of things just about our geography set us up for some challenges here in Josephine County because Grants Pass is the only city of any size. Cape Junction is also an official city. So we only have 2 cities in the whole county, and Cape Junction is 2,000 people and 25 miles away. So that makes for some challenges. But yes, we are working, but we're also constantly competing with Jackson County for attention.
I'm more concerned with the vibrancy. The building land is not what I was concerned about.
Well, I think in order to get large companies that have a lot of jobs, they need the space. So they either need,
Why is that the focus?
why is it the focus?
Jobs.
That's where the jobs are, that pay well, and we are having a situation right now with Dutch Bros is expanding nationwide, which is great for them. And they're also starting to pull a little bit away from Grants Pass being their headquarters. They've been a major, employer with their headquarters, has significant, jobs that pay quite a bit, as well as the healthcare industry is our #1 industry in this county for high-paying jobs. So I think, retail and restaurants obviously create jobs, but they're not the kind of wages that really pay very well. Yeah, Rob?
I'll tee one up for you. So saying that the water plant costs 10 million more, it may sell a lot of newspapers, but could you talk briefly about what percentage of that cost is actually city staff? You need to understand that that is all outside control, outside contracting. And that gets lost in that narrative.
Can you repeat the question? No, it was on the Zoom.
Oh, for the Zoom people, thank you. Yeah, the question was regarding, the water treatment plant and that a lot of the money goes to outside consultants and engineering firms. I'm not totally sure that there was a question in there, Rob, but,
Yeah, I guess the question would be how much city staff is actually paying for that? In fact, it's not, most of those costs are not controlled by the city, I guess.
That's true. The costs themselves are hardly controlled by the city at all. The project is all handled by outside engineering and contractors. We do have to pay higher wages for government projects always, but we have a little bit of control in choosing the type of I think the type of, I guess, water filtration system that we want to use has different costs and expected longevity, expected amounts of water that can be processed, at a particular speed. So we have a little bit of cost savings or choice regarding those, but yeah, most of the money is not going to city staff at all. We have just a couple of employees who work on this who touch it part-time, but all the contracting and engineering is going outside firms. But it will be a much better situation for our community in the future, I guess, once we can get that built. We'll just have better resiliency. The thing about a water treatment plant, ours is not failing at this moment. It is our only source of clean drinking water here in the city of Grants Pass, so you don't want to wait for the moment that it fails to get something like this going. The council, the city has already been working on it for 10+ years at this point, and we have still not broken ground on it, but we have found the site and purchased the site and started the design engineering phase. So we've made quite a bit of progress, but it takes a long time. And they talk about Cascadia or something, the big earthquake happening, and that treatment plant, 100-year-old treatment plant sitting right on the banks of the river is anticipated that it could just slide right in, if the wrong thing happens. So we want to take care of that situation before we get ourselves in the pickle. Yeah.
Where do you stand with the idea of homeless shelters or park, homeless campground, with regards to addressing the issues that we have?
Yeah, so the question was about how things stand with regard to a campground or shelter addressing the unhoused. Personally, I think we 100% need both of those options, maybe more than one of each. I know that I could probably find about 200 people camping on our parks and streets on any given night, just kind of casually driving around, and I don't even know where all the best hiding spots are probably, right? So that means that there are a number of people who are going to need to be housed somewhere. And I guess personally, my take is regardless of whatever the Supreme Court decides, after they make that decision, we're still going to have at least about 200 people camping outside somewhere, and we're still going to deal with that. Any given facility, probably, 20 to 75 people at any given site, depending on what the size is. I think we probably need some outdoor options and probably need some indoor options. People like to have choices, and they do get to choose where they go and if they go. So some people right now, don't want to be in parks because they don't feel comfortable in the parks, and some of the parks have you know, a little bit different vibe to them, or, some have more drug use than others, some, you know, people build a little community and, or people they're trying to avoid, and so they might not want to go to the same shelter as another person who they're trying to avoid, so it's good to have choices, and I think we'll need some. As far as where it stands, I would say right now we're kind of at a standstill on that effort. The city itself has not identified funding to help support, to help buy something. We did have some money from the state at one point, and those funds have been spent. And so at this point, we would either need to, you know, take a real close look at our own finances or ask for grants from the state or feds to provide a property, but we don't have a city-owned property that's been deemed appropriate for that. So we would be looking at buying something, and that's been one of the problems, is finding a facility that is available, because I know a lot of people, I mean, if I had $1 for every time somebody suggested that old Greyhound station, you know, I'd be doing all right, and I love that spot, you know, I mean, I think that's a great spot. The owner has other plans for it, you know, that's their prerogative. We don't own it, and people get to do what they want with their own land. So you have to find a lot that works for the community, that works for the homeless, that's available at a price you can afford. You have to have money, you have to have a nonprofit, or some sort of community partner willing to operate it. They have to be able to identify operational funds. There are some things that you can get money from the state for treatment, but not for lodging, or maybe you can get money for transitional housing, but not an emergency shelter. It's like every little thing is a challenge. And I know Doug's sitting there next to you, you know, has spent so many hours. He's his local hero on this. I can't say enough good things about his efforts, but it's been hard, you know, and it really is everything. So, hopefully, you know, one of the things I guess that, with this lawsuit and the spotlight will put on the situation is also that communities need help, right? Like small towns are dealing with this, big cities are dealing with this, and we need help, and we need it to be easier than having a challenge with each part of this puzzle, right? Because it's, I can't say in this community, we have had some NIMBYism problems, that's not in my backyard, but it hasn't been the only problem. It's like every single part of it is a problem. And that's despite the efforts of people who are working real hard and doing a great job trying to put all the pieces together. It's been hard. Somebody over here who didn't have a question yet, Doug?
You talked about, even if the Supreme Court does go in our favor, their decision, that's what I was curious about. If we'll still have the people there. So are the police going to, what's going to change in the police department? Are they just going to be able to arrest more people? Do they have room in the jails? If that is the case, that is that what we're trying to accomplish?
The question was, what happens if the city were to win the Supreme Court case? Do we have adequate police in jail to arrest our way out of this problem? And the answer is no. The jail is every single day turning people out for things that they would normally hold people for, at least for one night, if not days or more. I think many times the sheriff and police probably don't take people in even to be booked because they know that there's no room, and it just takes a little extra of their time to drive people over there only to be let go. So every single day that's a problem already. Personally, I mean, the Supreme Court, you know, a lot of times they do little tweaks of something that's very legalistic and doesn't even, you know, have anything to do with what the rest of us might be expecting as far as like a yes or no type verdict. They're making little nuances. We did have the US Circuit Court, or the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals made a little clarification the second time that they heard it. They made a little clarification that we don't have to have 600 beds, which some people thought, I've never understood where that was coming from, but some people thought that maybe if we didn't have enough beds for absolutely every single homeless person counted in the Quinn and Turner survey, that we wouldn't be able to enforce in our parks, and I never thought that was true, but they did clarify that that's not true, you know, and it's just this one little thing that they made a ruling on. So we'll see what the Supreme Court does, but yeah, as far as I'm concerned, like, we still have this problem, and so we have to get serious about it, and it really troubles me that I've spent, 3.5 years now talking about the problem with no major steps forward. I think Judy's telling me it's time, so.
One more.
Okay, one more question.
Brenda,
Brenda.
I know, when I read in the paper, of course, things are always different when I go out to the homeless camps with some of the people in the club that are, trying to help them, that I realize there's some really nice people that are just down on their luck, and they want to do the right thing. It's real hard to do the right thing when there's not facilities and there's not money. However, when I read in the paper about the drugs and the drug use and how just in your face it is, because they seem to be getting away with it. And again, I know there's not enough room in jails. The police are running real fast as it is, but I'm wondering if there isn't somebody or something who is trying to deal. It's not just one problem with the homeless. There's the mental health problem, which I think is being addressed at the state level, or starting to be, at least it's coming more out into the open. But I think we need to separate the different problems that the people have that are been creating problems for those of us who want to just live our life in this community. Is there somebody addressing the drug issues other than this new law, which may or may not?
Yeah, so she had a question about just the complicated nature of the homeless problem in the parks and how people have more than one problem. Or different people have different problems, and kind of the abundance of drug use in the parks. Although some of the people are very nice and just down on their luck, and I would agree, there's every single type of problem and circumstance going on. I would say some of the prolific drug use in the park is probably not even homeless people, it's just people doing drugs in the park and they have homes. So it can be hard to separate out those issues. Drugs are illegal in our parks, and the police do make arrests every single day. They are trying to respond. We don't have enough officers to be at each park 24 hours a day, but they do respond based on priorities. And so, we have probably 6 or 7 officers on call at any given time. And if they're busy with something else that's a higher priority, or they're just working on first, they have to deal with that first before they can go deal with the other situation. But they are very much making arrests all the time, and we do have homeless people moving every 72 hours, cleaning up trash, cleaning up bathrooms daily. I think it's a complicated problem, and it needs a lot of different angles of solution. The city itself does not provide any sort of healthcare services. We don't have mental health services. Public health is offered through the county. We don't offer drug treatment. We have police, we have parks. And I guess as far as I'm concerned, my first goal is to provide a place where homeless people can stay so that they're not staying in our parks. And I think anybody who wants to go there will go to, to whatever shelter we're able to open first, and then we'll see what problem we're left with. And so if we open a shelter that houses 50 people and 50 people move in and we still have 150 people in the park, well, we better open another shelter, right? And then we'll get the next 50 out, and we'll get the next 50 out. And eventually we will get to a point where the people who want to go to a shelter will all be sheltered, and there will be some remaining, and we'll have to deal with that. And I can tell you from growing up in this town, and I grew up right in between 7-Eleven and the Bridge Street Market on Bridge Street, and there has been drug use in this town. For the past 40 years, there's been vagrancy. There's been people living in Gilbert Creek next to my mom's house. It's been a problem for always, and it always will be a problem. We just need to keep taking actions and taking steps forward and dealing with it as they come, but we can't let ourselves be overwhelmed by all the problems to the point that we take no action. We have to deal with one problem and we will deal with the next problem. That'll be my answer.
Thank you.
Anyway, thanks for having me.
Thank you, Mayor, and also thank you for your service.
Yeah, yeah.
This is a volunteer position, there's no salary nor stipend, nor anything, so I mean, you can see what it requires. Okay, Doug, Sergeant Marks. Okay. I want to say thanks to you, Sarah. I think you're doing a lovely job. And here we are. I've been involved in the city now for, I've been there for 3 mayors now, and you're by far the most active and engaged and willing to try to do something. So we really appreciate that. So Sergeant Barnes, I've got no big gags today or anything like that. I was very lazy this week, didn't come up with anything. I do have a list of some jokes, and they are wholesome jokes. I came from my dad, and I thought, well, wholesome's good, because there's a couple people in the room who could use a little more wholesome. I won't mention names, no names, Patty, I won't mention names. I won't mention any names. But first off, Luke gave me some really cool exploding bunny poop. So is anybody gonna be around some little kids for Easter?
Yes.
Okay. You're gonna pay me for it. You're gonna pay me for it? Ready? All right, anybody else need to around some little kids? Or big kids?
Oh, my God.
Okay, so we're gonna do happy bucks or any other stories you wanna say, and I'll throw in a wholesome joke in and amongst them all. So does anybody have any happy bucks? Okay, I'll come to you, hang on, I'll come to you. And then if there's a lull in all of this, we will throw in a couple jokes. Patty.
I'm just so happy I have exploding bunny food.
It's gonna be a good time.
I have 10 happy bucks because I want to say I love this community. And I was just sharing with some people that I feel like Tom Sawyer, because speaking of the homeless crisis, you know, I started helping with coffee and someone took it over. I was helping with food and people took it over. I was helping with clothes and people took it over. So we did the hygiene kits, and I'm here to tell you, we delivered 100 hygiene kits to Parker House with extra supplies, and we took supplies to the park this morning, and someone took it over.
So are you being fired with all this stuff?
Okay, I have sort of happy, but number one, I'm so happy Lisa is back. So, and I'm so delighted that we got to have Sarah talk to us. I don't know her, but when I read about people that demonize her for everything that goes wrong, I get so disgusted. And I want you to know, Sarah, that we appreciate you and we support you and we will be behind you.
I have 5 happy bucks, because like our mayor, Marty Zatola was one of my son's favorite teachers and is one of the people behind the fact that he is now teaching in Boston at an elementary school and wants very much to be the kind of teacher that he was inspired by in Marty Zatola and Dr. Fry's classes.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything, but I have to, since I have known Marty Zatola since I was born, I guess. And he and my older brother went to catechism together, and my older brother got to go to his house for dinner. And you remember I talk about my family being a fish stick family. You know, my mother was not big on cuisine, much better bartender. However, Marty's mother made all these fabulous Italian meals, and my brother Jim we called him Jimmy, would come home and tell us about spaghetti and all this other great stuff. So anyway, I've known Marty forever, and I'm so happy to have Kathy Krause here as well, who's been a friend of mine forevermore, so.
And I want to add, Marty was both my kids' favorites, so I think he might have been on the way out, retired when Chris was there. But a little bit of information, this was interesting, he and Mr. Fry were co-teachers in a very large classroom, and I may say this wrong, so correct me, but one of you was teaching literature, English, the other was teaching history, I think, right? And so they would combine the two so that you could cover more ground, because you could write something about history and it could be edited by, or be graded by the English teacher and whatnot. So it sounded like a very smart way of covering a lot and commanding more of his kids. And I think that was a very worthwhile thing. Anybody else? Pat?
I got happy bucks because I got a big sign location from the county, but I want to talk about Judy. Because Judy and I did go to Paddington together, and I never once was invited over fish sticks, ever. No. Yeah.
I want to give happy bucks, because of all of our guests and their involvement in, our community. I know Kathy Krause, we talked to you at an event one time and you said, I really want to get involved in Braver Angels. I remember that. And everybody that Marty and the track and all of that stuff, and Pat and all of the involvement from Rotary, not just in our club, but in the community is wonderful.
Well, I'd like to give a happy back because I wanted to thank the Daily Courier and Margaret in particular for helping do that for us to get a fabulous front page article and page article on page 5 of our Shoes That Fit.
Yeah.
That's good. Just put that article over there, if anybody wants to read it. Anyone else? I have a couple happy bucks. I have went water to my garden yesterday, the asparagus popping out of the ground, so I'm thrilled about that.
I have 10 happy bucks paid for my exploding.
Got 2 more, we're gonna have some more, I'll finish it, that is 22. Okay, ready for it, Jim? Oh, we're gonna do cards, I think we're sold out on cards. Okay, one joke, one free joke, okay. Let's see. Oh, let's see, which one? How about, okay, I'll do a couple. So my superpower is holding on to junk for years and throwing it away a week before I need it. Okay. If a cookie falls on the floor and you pick it up, that's a squat, right? Yeah, it is, it's exercise. Brain at 3 a.m. I can see you're trying to sleep, so I would like to offer you a selection of every memory, unresolved issue, or thing we should have said or done today, as well as the past 40 years. You can thank me later. Kids, you think you know stress? When I grew up, if you missed a TV show, you missed it forever. Okay, cards. Marty, cards. It is the Jack of Clubs. Yeah. Wonderful. Okay, thank you, everybody. Our thought for the day, and this is from the Tao of Leadership. This book's been around for a long time, and I think the women will like this particular one that I found. It's a little bit long, but you can here. So all behaviors contain their opposites. Wow, wow. All behaviors contain their opposites. Hyperinflation leads to collapse. A show of strength suggests insecurity. What goes up must come down, and if you want to prosper, be generous. Here's the women part. Also, the feminine outlasts the masculine. The feminine allows, but the masculine causes. The feminine surrenders, then encompasses and wins. And
Water wears away the rock, spirit overcomes force, the weak will undo the mighty. Learn to see things backwards, inside out, and upside down. Thank you.
Right?